What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla stock, what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for as time progresses. I'm also going to talk about some other factors that are going to be very, very big for next week. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening to the market. Looking at Tesla, we had this falling wedge-like structure developed. Tesla attempted to get a little bounce from here, but then we ended up kind of rejecting off this 165 area before Tesla came back down with the market. And then we got a nice bounce on Tesla. You can see Tesla ended up outperforming the market, closing green, while SPY, the QQQ, and other tickers ended up closing red. So with this double bottom formation, there is a chance that Tesla could try to rebound a bit going into next week. Not saying it's going to last forever. This could just be like a very temporary rebound. But I still see some potential for this looking at technicals and other factors like that. So I'm going to talk about what happened to the market, what's going on with data for next week and earnings. Then I'm going to break down what's going on with Tesla, why it's very possible for this thing to get a slight rebound. So, first, what's happening with data for next week? Next week is going to be very important because, firstly, Monday will just be a minor day. Tuesday is just going to be some other day as well where we just have some housing data, nothing too crazy. But then on Wednesday, March 20th, next week, we have the FOMC meeting. We have the FOMC economic projections coming out, the interest rate projections for 1 year and the second year, which is going to be very, very important. And also, we're going to hear from Jerome Powell, who's going to be giving a very, very big speech. So, right now, the market is starting to downtrend a bit approaching this event, but this will determine if the market gets a big bounce or if the market's about to see a big rug pull. This is going to be very important, so be prepared for that. Anyways, when it comes to other factors affecting the markets, earnings are going to be very minor from this point, so I'm not going to talk as much about them from this point on. Just as a reminder, we just have very minor ones for Monday and Tuesday. We have Xpeng on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have Chewy alongside a couple of others. And then for Thursday, we have Nike and FedEx. I might just talk about earnings on like Wednesday or Thursday. Everything else is just like so minor to the point where it's not even like worth mentioning, in my opinion. But with that being said, this is just like a little calendar. If you guys want to take a screenshot of this, if you want to see anything or play any of these, plays, if anything, it's your choice, but it's up to you. Anyways, going into the market, however, why did the market trade the way it did? That's a big question on a lot of people's minds. And the answer is because of the options chain. And the market makers actually they ended up manipulating the market in a very, very crazy manner. So if you look at the options chain, look at how we closed. 95,000 calls were in the money, 531,000 out of the money. So people who were holding calls through close, the majority of them ended up actually losing. They lost all their money and they took a big hit. How about puts? How about puts? We had 175,000 puts in the money, 4 million puts out of the money with a 6.79 put to call ratio. So intraday, while the market was trading, the option chain was adjusted for SPY. They changed the options chain and they ended up just causing everyone to lose. The majority of people lost and the market makers came out on top. This was part of their game, and this is why SPY traded the way it did. That's why we saw this very, very boring sideways price action for the majority of the day. Not a whole lot ended up going on. And look at how this thing traded for the majority of the day. You guys can see lots of just boring sideways price action. That's a little sell off, and then just continued to trade sideways. Not a whole lot went on with SPY. So, with that being said, what's going on with the market moving forward? Let's talk about how things are looking. I want to say that Tesla has potential to bounce and outperform the market, but SPY and other tickers are still looking relatively weak. We're going to start off with SPY before I break down Tesla and the others. So, with SPY, here's my warning for everyone. We officially have a downtrend now. We can actually say this after this close because typically you need 2 days in a row to get that confirmation. So, you want to be patient. The daily on SPY is looking a little bit weak right now. We're barely holding our 20 EMA. If we lose this, there is a risk of us coming down to fill this gap all the way down to these much lower levels. Whether we end up filling this gap above and then fall, or if we don't end up doing that, this will be determined by Jerome Powell in the FOMC meeting, in my opinion. So we'll just have to see what Jerome Powell says. Does he cause a rug pull or does he help the market bounce? Just wait and see. I just want to note that the last time we got the PPI data, the last time we got CPI was a little bit harder than expected. PPI was also harder than expected. There is a risk of inflation coming back up, so the Fed is not in the clear yet. So they have to be very, very careful as inflation is very sticky. This suggests that there is a risk of the Fed kind of like giving us the projections for interest rates to not necessarily be as dovish as some people may have wanted. They may be inclined to keep rates higher for longer, which could be negative for the markets. So there is a risk of Jerome Powell causing a rug pull. Not a guarantee, but it's always a possibility. And SPY has this downtrend that's being established. So because we close below 510, there's a sign of weakness. It could rebound a bit, retest the yellow trend line, then reject and just continue on this downtrend. As of right now, this is the pattern on SPY, and there is a risk of more downside. We're starting to downtrend for now. But I'm not going to guarantee this is going to last forever because Wednesday is going to determine if this thing continues to fall. If we get a bounce, Jerome Powell is going to be a big catalyst. So just wait and see. I also want to note that when SPY hit the 508 area last week, right, this thing basically, it wasn't last week, it was Monday. We bounced, got a big bounce off of this. Okay. This time we hit it. We haven't gotten a nice bounce so far. We're looking very lackluster. So I'm thinking that it may pop a bit and eventually come down. We're looking weaker on SPY. And whether this continues or not will depend on FOMC. If we get a bigger downtrend for SPY to come back to the 400s, like 490 something, or do we get a big bounce? That's going to be determined by FOMC for later. But for now, we do look a bit more bearish. The QQQ also ended up closing at a low level, just barely at 434, and we ended up falling below. Temporarily, we were below 434, so it's not the best of signs for this chart. There's a slanted head and shoulders like structure that also developed, so it's not looking the best, in my opinion, for the QQQ. And this does favor bears somewhat more. This does favor bears a little bit more, in my opinion. There's this downtrend, this little bearish looking channel right here. So it could try to come back up into this level, this range right here, but then eventually make its way down lower. The chart is looking a bit more bearish, especially on the bigger time frames. So I'm seeing that it might rebound a little bit, but there is a high risk of this thing falling to about 430. That's where our key EMA happens to be right here. And then also, if we lose 430, I'm going to be eyeing this gap fill on the daily all the way down to right here around 426. So I could see more downside on the QQQ, guys. Make sure you're prepared for that. There's a head and shoulders like formation, which does suggest downside is at risk right now. All right. So with that being said, Nvidia has a very, very similar trend. Now, Nvidia is still trying to hold up, but the daily is looking a little bit weaker. Uh, I just want to be mentioning that even though Nvidia has some weakness, there is an uptrend that's still present on it. This could be forming a flag right now, so we'll just have to wait and see. But if anything, we're slowly uptrending. We're going to see if Nvidia can maintain these levels. Can Nvidia try to hold these levels, or does this thing get a big rejection? And we'll see if we end up losing 872 and start sinking lower. If we get a bounce from here, we'll just have to wait and see. There's a slight uptrend right here, so we'll see if we get a bounce or not. But overall, Nvidia is in a critical place right now. It's just barely holding its support, so we'll see how it does. I do believe there's a risk of this losing it, so we'll just wait and see. For Apple, in my opinion, not looking that great. It's still stuck in this range. It was trying to break 174 and it failed. It failed to get that break. It came all the way down to 170 before coming back up. So this is what dragged the market down. Apple is not looking the strongest. It's really failing to break and struggling to break 174. So there is a risk of this kind of popping and dropping or even coming back down towards 170. So not looking the best so far. Now the market's looking weaker, but there's a big but. Tesla is showing some strength. And that's something that's very important. So last week when the market was still kind of like popping, dropping, trying to push up to all-time highs, which is what SPY did a couple of days ago, right? Tesla was already dropping, and that's because we got bad news after bad news after bad news. Just look at the chart. It pretty much dropped the majority of the time for the last couple of days. This was at 181 on Monday. Today's Friday. Tesla's barely at 163. It's down about 20 points. So Tesla's dropped pretty hard. It's been falling so hard to the point where it's like oversold. You could use that term, I guess. I don't truly or solely depend on a chart being oversold to say that it has to bounce, though, because what goes down could always go down lower. But in Tesla's case, it's dropped so hard after so much bad news has come out that it is due for a technical bounce, in my opinion. I think we could get it for next week, just temporarily, right? Just a temporary bounce. The 4 hour is turning right here. It does look like if we do break 165, 168 is going to come next. And on top of this, we got a green day on Tesla, despite the fact that SPY and the QQQ were in the red. So now Tesla's building some strength. Technically speaking, we did attempt to get a break from the falling wedge. We have a double bottom. So I think there's a very good chance that if technicals play out, as long as we don't get too much bad news for Tesla, as long as there's no major horrible headline, Tesla could break 165 and make its way closer to 170, in my opinion, just temporarily. Okay. Just temporarily for a little bounce. And once we hit 170, we could always come back down with the market later on. So I'm not saying I'm a mega bull for the short term. There's still a chance we could downtrend. It could pop a bit temporarily, push back up to 168 to 170, and then come back down lower and still maintain its downtrend. Additionally, let me just say that for the long term, I'm still always going to be a mega Tesla bull. I don't see the fundamentals going down or backwards just yet. And I think that Tesla has so much potential for its long term fundamentals. I'm still a very big bull. Now, if Tesla turns bearish, you want to see it lose 160. If we lose that, 158 is going to be our next target to 155. 158 is going to be a big one. I believe, however, that as long as you don't have bad news, technicals do favor this thing trying to break out, trying to get a one temporary bounce, and we'll see what happens after that. With that being said, guys, I just wanted to give you guys an update on that, give you guys a warning about what I see in the markets. Hopefully, this was helpful. As for my future videos, let me just note that I'm going to release 2 videos tomorrow for Saturday. I'm not going to talk as much about the markets in full details. I might just broadly talk about the trend on SPY and Tesla and then release another video about either trading or Elon Musk tweets, something like that for Saturday. But on Sunday, in the daytime, maybe the afternoon, I'll be back and I'll be giving you guys a much more meticulous report on the markets. I'll be breaking down Tesla, Supermicro, Nvda, and everything that you typically would be watching. So watch for my key video on Sunday for more details on the markets. For Saturday, I'll be releasing more videos and just talk about other details, other things, because I just want to take a little break from being this meticulous. I just want to focus more on just maybe like Elon Musk tweets or something else like that. All right, so I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow. I'll be breaking down more details about the markets, and I'll have a much more in-depth video on Sunday as well about Tesla and everything else like that. All right, so thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Tesla to the moon because the long term is very bright, and peace out.